Yes.
I just want to know whether it's amounts to pride or not. People do shopping in different places, right? Some go to the top end and some go to the moderate shops. Those who do shopping in the branded stuff, the elite stuff, would you call that as takabbur or pride?
Like I said, moderation, and moderation would help us in that. It's nothing wrong in engaging oneself if one is given that means to buy things which are sort of brands or expensive, but with moderation, right?
It's contradictory, isn't it?
No, I mean it's like you're going to a store and buying 5 shoes at one time, or 5 Almani suits or something at one time, or 5 watches at one time.
Yeah.
Yes, you have one watch which you like to have. It's
okay.
enough to have one watch, or 2 is more than enough.
Fine, but you can buy a watch for £5,000 or £500. Buying for 5,000, does it mean you are actually arrogant?
No, if one have fulfilled his dues towards the wajibat, those things which are wajib, then to a greater extent the mustahabbat, the calculation of that. And then, after all of that, then one is not like every month he is buying a watch. He has 1 or 2 expensive watches, that's okay. It's good to have it.
So does it constitute towards affordability point?
Affordability, yeah, that is very important.
Yeah.
I'm not taking loan just to have a watch.
Okay, that's
the affordability is very important there. Yeah.
So if one can afford,
one has fulfilled his vows and
but
dues.
one can argue as well that you can afford a £5,000 watch, but why don't you give £4,500 to charity and buy a £500 watch?
Yeah, you can buy a £500 watch and then curse that, oh, why did I buy this watch, and be upset about it and not thankful to God. I wish I should have bought that watch,
But my question is, it's not arrogance, is it?
No, I mean, if one have taken care of its dues, and then one have that and would like to have it, and it's sometimes needed as well for his nafs to be balanced. We are not awliya. That the prisoner of war comes, give away, the foreigner comes, give away, and we have no food at home. Then we will say, oh Allah, I give this for you. What is there for me? You haven't done anything for me. Instead of becoming more mu'min and good believer, the iman kind of shakes. So sometimes we need that to keep our children, ourselves, our status, to a certain level. But once again, if I'm not paying my dues, if I cannot afford it, all of these things, just to have that status, just to have a flashy watch or a flashy car or a flashy house, just for that sake, I am undermining, halal or haram and all of those things. While keeping in mind, if I can afford to maintain that, and I'm taking care of things that I can, and if I could bring others to that status as well, I should invest in that to bring them.
Sheikh, thank you very much for your lecture. Sheikh, just on the point of moderation, there are some things which are continuous. So if you look at, for example, expending wealth, for the example just given here, humility, courage. There's a continuum, so it could go from being rash, for example, to being extremely brave. There are certain things which are absolute, which are discrete. For example, the truth or good. How do you moderate? Because you gave the example of moderating in truthfulness. So how do you moderate that?
That's a good question. I was just thinking while I was mentioning that. Because I was trying to remind myself of what I have read from Aristotle, because he had something about truthfulness and falsehood, and to give that sort of, to being there are certain truths which is not to be disclosed. If it's like, like those who are of ma'rifat and irfan, for example, those things are not to be mentioned in front of others. If one is truthful, then those things should be mentioned to everybody. So, la hawla wala. Yeah. So I think that could be the reason. Because it's good. I mean, if you could look at the Aristotle way approach to ethics, you can Google it. It's a good way he has pointed out. On the other hand, Plato was of the thought that no, it is not that you balance it; it's within you, and you bring that out. It's that awareness of the good quality that you have in. But Aristotle says no, you got to acquire it, you got to master it, balance it, which is more. It's an interesting approach. Yeah.
Sorry. The question about humility, you said, on a personal level, you want to be humble in front of God and the prophets and all that, and then also among the mu'mineen. And then when you look at the macro level, outside of the community, so for example, if you are a Shia Ishnashri and you are trying to be humble, but in the wider society, at workplace, school, college, etc., even on the road somewhere, shops, etc., you could really not pass the message that why you are behaving is actually taking you towards a higher level spiritually in trying to achieve humbleness. It could be seen wrongly and would not reflect exactly or correctly about the faith itself, for example. And we will look a bit of sort of defeatist religion, and then will not be attracting exactly, because people's perception of religion is not, people are not really prepared to be humble all the time. People want to see achievement, power, accomplishment, strength, etc. So how do we then reflect the mazhab exactly, the teaching a little bit in the first meeting or second meeting, until you discuss in deep?
It's a very powerful question. Yeah, it's very difficult, these akhlaqiyat and its implication and the time and space, how one should really behave, what's the right behavior. Here is something else, what we have heard from the way how, the imams in a particular given period have behaved, or the scholars, for example. So it's a very difficult way of expressing oneself, one's humility in the public place, and what they might consider that to be, this person is a bit strange, in terms of why is he behaving that way. So it's a good understanding of the Western values and culture, and at the same time our principles that are there, and trying to perhaps show Islam through that. And if you think, because if that comes in your mind that okay, he might be or they might be thinking that, then telling this is not what you think, or this is what I thought, and this really means that I'm showing this, this is how it's supposed to be, this is how a Muslim behaves, or this is how I've been taught or brought up by my parents. Yeah. Yes. Assalamu alaikum. Look, the seniors, just now today what we did, I was just thinking, I'm going to tell Agha Shumali that, when I came here, mashallah, he has taken you guys quite high, and I was so difficult, he's been giving you big glasses of water. Today you just had a bit, I was, so it's very, you learn from seniors, right? You learn from parents. Parents, they never ever have mentioned that I have done so much for you, but in return we have done so much. We sometimes, we take things for granted, when it comes to parents. But on the other hand, they have behaved in such a humble way, even after having everything. They never said that, oh, so much tuitions that I have paid, so many things that I have done, what I have given them in return. Now I have become a dentist or a doctor, or I'm earning, but I'm just thinking about, my car, my clothes, I have reached to this point. For them, they haven't, it didn't even occur, they haven't even imagined that they want something from me, from my earning, right? So this is nothing but that humbleness, right? So by reflecting, by looking at how our elders are, our seniors, our teachers, we could learn, from them really. Murtaza Kashmiri was a great arif. He would say that from the very young age he would sit with people who were older, and if they say something, he would carry that out. Like senior people who say things, religious people, and he will act on it. So just to have that humbleness in them. So inshallah, hopefully, alhamdulillah. Thank you. My apologies, I hope, inshallah, may Allah forgive me, inshallah. Thank you very much. Pray for us. Thank you. Thank you.